Pretty nice. Let's hit that other block, center block there. Yeah, 30-40 Krag. Interesting rifle, huh? Let's take a couple more shots because that should be what we have left in it. If you tell anybody I just missed a 2-liter with a rifle, I'll never forgive you. Wow. Missed it on purpose. You know I'd never do that intentionally. Just kidding. I did miss it, and I didn't mean to miss it. Yes, we have the Krag-Jorgensen, the 30-40 Krag, or referred to as just the Krag rifle. You know, called a lot of different things, but that's what it is, a Krag. And it's the very distinctive looking gun with this loading box. If you ever see that, you know it's a Krag. I don't know of another gun exactly like that. Although in the development of that loading system, I understand they used it on an earlier rifle and it held like 10 or 15 or some huge box. But that distinguishes the rifle as a Krag, if you see that. Okay, let's lay it down over here and let you take a look at that. This is a gun that a viewer loaned to me, and boy do I appreciate it. This is neat. I've always wanted to shoot a Krag, and I never have. I've just not had that opportunity. Not many people have them. Back in the 1880s, you know, they were developing smokeless powder. And up to then, it was, you know, the 45-70 mainly is the military rifle with black powder. You know, lots of it, 70 grains, you know, big old case. Well, rifle like this in 30 caliber was what we were moving towards, and I guess kind of universally around the world. You get right down to it. Faster bullet, maybe some advantages to that, you know, and a 30 caliber with smokeless powder. So this is one of the early examples of that. In fact, it was the first gun that the United States adopted that used smokeless powder, and in a 30 caliber. So pretty interesting gun. It is 30-40 Krag. They're still using the same nomenclature, you know, that goes back into the black powder era. You know, the 45-70 is called 45-70 because it's 45 caliber and it's loaded with 70 grains of powder, and many of the cartridges were designated that way. You got the caliber and the weight of the powder, or the amount of powder. And they maintain that even with this one, with the smokeless powder. I think it was the last time that they did, but that's where the 30-40 Krag comes from. It was, I think, 40 grains of smokeless powder. So then after this, I think they got away from that pretty much, but that's why it's called the 30-40 Krag. And it was adopted in, well, 1892. We had trials in the United States, and they looked at the Mauser, looked at a bunch of guns, I think the Lee Enfield, and the Krag, and ended up with this one, which very distinctive looking gun. And this is a nice example of a Krag. It's in really good shape. It feels good and has a smooth bolt, and I'll show you how to load that again. The distinguishing feature again, and one of the reasons that the U.S. was so attracted to it was the way it loaded, because you open that up and you just put them in there. Get some shells over here, and you put them in. You don't even have to be all that careful. There's 3, 4, holds 5. You just put them in and close it up. See? So kind of interesting, totally different. You don't have to work the bolt to take a round out or put another round in. We could be hot right now, ready to shoot if we wanted to, and we could top it off. Say there's 2 rounds in there, we could just open that up, you know, be on safe. Of course, we're empty in the chamber, but we could put in a couple more rounds in it. So that was very attractive to the military. Let's put our ears on and take a couple more shots with it. Okay, I just shot it 2 or 3, 4 times. What you just saw there was, I guess, about the 8th or 9th shot. And so safety off, we put around the chamber. It seems to shoot right on, as best I can tell. It has a very fine sight, and it's not really easy to see. But we're going to try some longer shots with it too, just for the heck of it. I'll try the red plate over there. Should have shot under it, felt low. There we go. Yeah, get it up a little bit. biggest thing is the sight's a little fuzzy to me. We've got a watermelon over there. I'll try him. Don't think I can see the sights well enough to, I might be able to. We'll try them again. It's not so much the front sight, it's just a little bitty groove in that rear sight that's it takes extreme well, eyesight. Now with my other, I'll turn around here, my other eye, I may have to learn to shoot with this eye one of these days because I get a really clear sight picture with that eye on these old sights. But let's open her up again. Fascinating design. I don't know why, I've just always thought these were so interesting. And now I have one in my hands. I had never even opened one up like this before until receiving this one. And before I load it, let me show you, just to give you an idea of this round, because I know in my big hands sometimes it's hard to tell, right? Well, this is the old 4570, of course. Was adopted in 1873, and that was the military rifle round adopted in the trapdoor Springfield from 1873 up until this one was adopted in say 92. Now, just to give you an idea of the round, this is a round. I'll lay them down. John, look, that is the Krag round, the first one on the left. The center one is a 308, and the one on the right is a 30-30. So most of you are familiar with the 30-30 or the 308, so it gives you a little bit of comparison there. Okay, so one on the left is the Krag round, 30 caliber. I believe the ballistics on it trucks around 2,000, 2,200 feet per second in the lighter versions, and I think some of them are loaded on up from that. But it's not a 308, it's not a 30-06. It's comfortable to shoot. It's similar to, reminds me of the 303 British in terms of power. Okay. Now, as I load it, one of the attractions, again, as I understand from my reading, in terms of the military choosing this one, was this feature right here. Loading so easily, being able to top it off, have a magazine cutoff. Now, a magazine cutoff means you put this down, then what was attractive is you're in battle, let's say, and I want to, well, it's like safe, y'all. I want to put a round in. See, it doesn't pick one up. That's what a magazine cutoff is, just in general, if you ever hear that phrase. So I can just pick up another round and I can just put it in there. So say we're in the trenches and we're exchanging shots at long range, I'm behind cover, I can just put a round in, put one in, and just continue doing that and never even open this up, and I have 5 rounds there at my disposal. And then I get the order to charge, or we get attacked or whatever. I always have that reserve of 5 rounds in my magazine. So that's one of the advantages of a magazine cutoff, and others too, but that's a big one in terms of the military. So I can just flip that down. Now if I bring that back up, now it's going to pick up a round. See the difference? Put the safety on. Okay, so that was one of the attractions, big attractions. Now ironically, later, the military discovered in battle, as I understand, one of the reasons they decided they liked the Mauser better was the fact that with the clips and the loading, it actually loaded just as fast or faster. And in the heat of the battle, you noticed, I don't know if you noticed, but I had a little trouble a couple of times with it, getting the round in there. And if somebody was shooting at me, or I was running or moving and trying to get loaded, you do have to get that point in first, and you can end up with it hanging up a little bit. That in actual battle, it wasn't quite as cool and as smooth as it is right here on the range. And then with the clips, that worked very well with the Mauser. And of course the Mauser, we pretty much copied the Mauser for the 03 Springfield, which replaced this, in 1904. You have a little more power too, so that's one of the reasons we changed. Let me put my ears on, take a shot with this thing again. Let's take the safety off and see if I can pick off that coconut. I don't know where I went. Might have gone through it. Well, that may be what's happened. I'm not going to waste more ammo on it. Let's go for that 2-liter. I think I did hit it. And let's try that 12-ouncer. Yeah, I believe I hit that too. And we'll take the last round on that watermelon over there. All right. I was going to say it's going to be frustrating if I have to leave that watermelon sitting over there. That would not be good, would it? So this is just an interesting gun. You know, this was used in some, well, just give you a little other additional history. The was used most famously, I guess you'd say, in the Spanish-American War. You know, in Cuba and the Philippines, the Rough Riders, you know, had these things, and the carbine version, I believe, the shorter version of this mostly, and so it wasn't used as much. You know, when we got up into World War I, you know, we had the R3 Springfield. There was probably some of them still in service, but or just out of necessity maybe. But the Spanish-American War was where I think it was used most famously, and is most well known for that, I guess, is anywhere. If you've seen the movie Rough Riders, I think it's a TNT movie with Tom Berenger, Sam Elliott, just a bunch of people. It's a well done movie. You get a lot of Krag action, you know. Just as a point of reference there if you're interested in those kinds of movies. And what else I was going to point out, if you've ever seen the movie To Kill a Mockingbird, you know, Atticus Finch steps out into the street and shoots the rabid dog, and he shoots it with a Krag. You know, again, you cannot mistake this gun. It's so obvious that it's a Krag especially if you get a look at it from that side with that magazine. So it's very distinctive, very distinctive. We brought out a couple of handguns just kind of as decoration here. Guns that would have been used around the same period. Of course, you got your 1873 Colt. That one was actually made in 1884, so it had been around. And then the new service revolver, right, to turn of the century, 45, carried by people that carried these. Both those guns would have been carried by people who carried Krags, you know, at various times. And by the way, this one, based on the serial number, is 1899. So this gun, this specific gun, was made in 1899. Like I said, they're basically manufactured for a 10-year period. There are about 500,000 of them made from 1894 to 1904. And then we adopted the R3 Springfield. But that's kind of the time period for the gun, and so they're all going to be pretty old, aren't they? So this gun is well over 100 years old. Here we are out here shooting the thing. I had no ammo. I ordered 4 boxes, and this is Bitterroot I found, and it seems to do okay. So we'll see. We got a couple more targets we might try for here. We're not going to. Wow, I really like the way this thing loads. It's kind of neat. You just throw the ammo in the tray and close up the lid, you know. And as long as you get them in there, with the only thing I've done a couple times, and I see how this might have happened, you know, if you're running, you know, through the battlefield and you get the back end first, and can't get it in there, but as long as you get the point in first, the bullet seems to roll right in there. You just close it up. You can get too many, I guess. All right, pretty neat, pretty neat. I guess because it's so unique, I find it interesting. Oh, well, let's see. I'll take a couple of shots. We put a couple of 2 liters over there. Might have been a little ambitious. Again, it's not the gun. It's just strictly my visibility on those little tiny sights. We got the safety off, yeah. That was a little low on that. What is a smooth action? All right. Good. I didn't want to leave those guys. Let's blow this watermelon. He's just dying to be shot. Did a job, didn't it? Oh man, that's pretty neat. The other thing about it I didn't show you, you got your ladder adjustable sight here. You know, you raise it up, you know, you have to unscrew this, I noticed, and then that slides forward. You know, you can bring her up like that. And so these guns were designed, all these old guns, you know, to sight in at long range. It's like a vernier sight that you put on old Sharps rifles, you know, back here, and there's a ladder on it like that you can adjust. Now I had that at the lowest point. I better leave it there. They're designed for longer ranges. There you go. That's all. It seems to be original. It's a really nice gun. And again, you see U.S. Model 1898 Springfield Armory, which is the real Springfield Armory. Not to, you know, give Springfield Armory a hard time that makes our XDMs and a lot of the guns we like these days, but it's a different company. This was a U.S. Arsenal. They made these guns going way back to the muzzle loaders and right on up through the Grands and others. So beautiful old piece, and I'm going to have to put 5 more in. Can I shoot 5 more? Thank you. Got to. Let's put some in. Take a couple more shots at something. If I don't have anything to shoot at, I'll just make something up. That's pretty fast. Loads right up, doesn't it? Krag. I love it. Safety off. What do we have? Let's go for the red plate again. That low. Shot somewhere. If I didn't move that sight. You can tell where it's going. Let's try something bigger. Oh, I see a cinder block over there in front of the barrel. All right. Can't quit on a miss. I don't know what I was doing on the red plate, but the first shot I took of the gun, I just put it on the red plate and boom, I think I took a couple of shots and hit, so I felt like the sights were right on. So that was just me doing something. Maybe I didn't take those all the way back down. I'll think of another excuse here in a minute. But it has a very smooth action. Again, the U.S. was impressed with this gun for a lot of reasons. But there's always something better, right? Coming along as we got into battle and various altercations, realized the benefits that perhaps the Mauser type action and the hotter cartridge was a little bit better, and you know, this was kind of a stopgap measure, I think, in a lot of ways. Got us into the smokeless powder era, into the 30 caliber, realm, and was a pretty nice gun. I can see the appeal. These things are just really, really cool, quite unique in a lot of ways. So, first smokeless powder rifle adopted by the U.S. military, and again, it has some interesting history associated with it, and you can of course find that in a lot of places that have interest in this particular rifle. Krag-Jorgensen, they're Norwegian. Krag and Jorgensen both designed this, and interesting job. I like this gun. I think I'll keep it. Just kidding. I do like it though. Life is good.